Thank you, everybody. It's an extreme privilege to be before you this evening as one of your next mayoral candidates and hopefully your next mayor. My time on council has been over the last 18 months. I was elected in a by-election a year and a half ago, and part of me didn't expect to be here so soon, but when our outgoing mayor announced that he was stepping down and stepping away from politics, I reflected upon my time on council, and I looked at what constitutes leadership. And I thought to myself, leadership is about taking time to analyze the situation and then making a firm but fair decision. And I consulted with a number of residents and friends and supporters, and they sort of said to me, you know, we think the time is right for you to step up as mayor. And so I thought, okay, what do I bring to the table? And I thought, it's all about, for me, the center of it all is about engagement. And I have spent the last 18 months on council engaging with members of the public. Whenever something comes up, I step out and I try to say, okay, something is impacting upon your neighborhood, or there's some issue that you have come across, and how can we help to resolve it at the council table? For me, the center of every issue is governance. It's about engagement, and this is what I intend to bring, and I hope your questions tonight demonstrate that we are open-minded and we want to hear your input, and that's what I will bring to the table. So I won't take any more of your time, but I thank you, and I want to reiterate that governance is all about engagement. Thank you.
And second up, Jack Marr.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. I'm not sure about if you know who I am. I grew up in the community, and I've worked all my life as a farmer. I've got 54 years of farming practice under my belt. I served 9 years on council as a councillor and 6 years as your mayor. The only reason I'm running is because so many people had approached me and said that we need some person with experience at the head, so enough people convinced me, so I took up the opportunity to throw my name back in the hat. And I look at the bigger picture. I said that if you get a good working council, you get some things done. If you get a so-so council, if they don't support you, and the thing just stagnates. You know, in the 2008 and 2011 term that the council supported me, we did 3 major projects in the community. We did revitalization of East Saanich Road. We finally got water down to Saanich Drive, and we also put the fire hall together. I mean, it costs a lot of money, but I feel that that's the time to do it, especially when the interest rates are at the lowest that's ever been. So this is where I stand in the community, and I have the experience, and I hope I can continue on leading the district. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is David Shabib. I'm about as unlikely a candidate as you're ever going to get. I'm running in the 13 municipalities, and for one reason I'm running. I feel that it's everybody's job to stand for something. If you see what's going on and you don't stand for it, well, you're going to fall down for everything. So I stood up, and I stood up in 1979, first time I ran for mayor. And at that time, the Times columnist announced that I had withdrawn from the election 2 days before election. That was against the law. I took him to court. I sued him for $55 million. Of course, the judge would not fine for me because I was a nobody. Since then, I've run 7 times for mayor, and right now I'm running for 13 positions as mayor. I don't want the job. I don't need a council to tell me what to do. I can make decisions on my own, and that's why I'm standing. I want to be free to make my own decisions without interference from government. Government is a minority. They're not representing the majority. They're representing a very small minority of people, of which you people are part of that minority. There's a large amount of people out there, 350,000 people in Greater Victoria. We have to relate to everybody. The traffic is everybody. The facilities are everybody's. And as long as we see ourselves as separate, we're paying locally, like it's $100 million cost for 13 mayors and 13 municipal halls. So I'm not asking you to vote for me. I'm saying you stand up where you are, vote with your work, and start paying attention to circumstances, because the world is changing. We have internet now, the media. I was structured for a talk with CFAX the other day, and they called me up 2 hours before the interview, and they said, "You've been bumped by what's happening in Parliament." And I said, right, you got terror politics, that's what you got. You got fear as a motivator. You're not viewing these elections as important at all. The local elections are getting almost no coverage. The media is totally boycotting these elections. And the only real inquiries I get are from advertising agencies who want me to book them. How am I doing on time here? Somebody watching the time? I don't want to overstay my limit. But anyway, I have, I'm on West Saanich Road, 5090 West Saanich Road, just below the observatory. And I've stated at the beginning that I have the best garden. We have a fantastic garden. We stand by our garden. In fact, I'm with the garden party. That's my party. And we believe that you vote with your shovel. So, David Shabib, one vote can make a whole difference. And thank you very much for listening to me.
And the first speaker for council positions is Mr. Moudry, Tex Moudry.
Thank you, moderator. And ladies and gentlemen, it's nice to be from outside where it's raining like cats and dogs and everything else, and it's nice and dry in here. It looks like a really nice turnout. My name is Tex Moudry, Tex William Moudry. And first of all, I want to start that whether I win this election or not win it, even though I'm an ardent liberal, a Trudeau liberal, I will fight for Elizabeth May's inclusion in the national debates next year. Elizabeth May, she has a lot to say. She's very helpful. She's a canary in a coal mine, and she wants us all to err on the side of caution and conscience and the environment. Now, a lot of people saying, Tex, how did you get your name? Well, in high school, I was tall, so they called me Tex. Plus, I was the president of my class, 10, 11, and so forth. And people say, well, what is your issues? What you want to do? As you know, I like campaigning. I've been in many campaigns. Trudeau campaign when I was at university for Pierre. And I met him personally, and he promised me and others as well that he would recognize China, and he did. And us Liberals felt that he cared for Canada and had a compassion for Canada. Multinational, multicultural, bilingual, and united. And we can be proud he came through. And now, of course, it's the turn of Justin. He's learning the ropes, minute by minute, hour by hour. He's getting seasoned, and he'll be able to take on any challenger for making Canada a nicer country. Now, for the issues here, a lot of people say, Tex, you're not young enough to run. Well, if I'm not young enough, how come I feel like I'm young enough? Young at heart? Well, now, right now, my weight is about same weight as when I was 18. I wake up about 5:30 in the morning. I get a lot of exercise. I love campaigning, I love meeting people, and as well in promoting soccer. You might see me once in a while on highway past couple of years, promoting soccer, a soccer dream that Canada becomes a soccer power by 2020. Just as we're a hockey power in the winter, no reason why we can't be a soccer power in the summer. Now, whether I win or not win, I'll support the legislature. Any legislation I feel is worthwhile and good, I'll support it. Be it beautification of Saanich, so it's as beautiful as Brentwood. Be it the safety circle roundabout at the corner of East Saanich and Wallace. Now, I know that's going to be expensive, but remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a 4-year term, and a lot could be done. As well, when it comes to the area located at Keating Crossroads.
Time, Mr. Moudry.
Thank you very much. If win or not win, if there is a win, I promise as well, I'll wear this hat. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. My name is John Hannum, a candidate for office of councillor in the November 15th Central Saanich election. This is my second run for that office, the first being in the last by-election. I will endeavor to give you all of you a short overview of my background, my experience, and some of the issues requiring action within the district, and what I would bring to this administration. My family has roots going back over 100 years in the Victoria area. For the past 14 years, I've lived in the municipality of Central Saanich. I spent 32 years as a public school teacher in the Souk School District. During that time, I was involved in many school and union committees in support of education. On the executive of the BCTF, I chaired the public relations and professional development committees for 11 years. At the same time, I served as a Canadian Naval Reserve officer for 26 years, retiring with the rank of Lieutenant Commander. I balanced a full-time teaching career with that of a part-time military role. For extended periods of time, I was employed in many different roles locally, nationally, and internationally. While working full-time as a teacher and at the same time as a part-time military reservist, I completed both a master's and a doctoral degree in educational leadership and administration. I have both the energy and the capability to serve many diverse roles and succeed with those commitments. Since coming to live in Central Saanich, my wife and I have established a hay and horse operation on our 36-acre farm. I believe that farming has to be both encouraged and practically supported by the municipality. There are many issues that affect our local farmers, including, but not limited to, wildlife control, weed control, labor availability, access to markets, and stormwater management. Appropriate bylaws can assist where practicable, but should not be an impediment to the functioning of a viable farming operation. The tax base of the municipality needs to expand through business development within areas circumscribed by the official community plan, the OCP. The OCP may require fine-tuning, but the concept of having such a plan is good and should be used as a blueprint to support the district, not as an impediment to progress. For example, the Keating Road industrial area is either stagnant or shrinking in terms of the number of viable businesses to be found there. The municipality needs to have both policies and actions which attract, encourage, help, and establish appropriate businesses in that locale. A balance must be struck between what the overall community wishes and what is achievable within the tax base that exists. That is the job of the mayor and council. I'm open to new ideas and more than willing to explore fresh approaches to solving present and future problems which face the municipality. I'm able to multitask and would bring this ability to the table while working for you. As a councillor for Central Saanich, I believe I would bring a broad range of academic and practical skills combined with a proven record of administrative experience, which would be truly of a benefit to the community as a whole. Thank you.
Exactly 3 minutes. Next speaker is Alicia Cormier.
Thank you. As Ian said, I'm Alicia Cormier, and I'm asking for your support for re-election to Central Saanich Council. Over the past 18 months, I've worked hard to represent you and the issues that are important to our community, including the creation of a new economic development committee, improving viability of farming, and enhancing local food security. I've been an advocate for affordable housing, accessible and walkable communities, doctor recruitment, and a number of environmental concerns. I am well qualified to serve your interests on local government, with 30 years of experience in management, sales, and small business ownership. I've been an active volunteer for most of my life, as well as a parent, and most recently, a grandparent. With your support on Election Day, I will continue to collaborate with business, agriculture, and First Nations to champion a new economic development strategy and look for ways to provide affordable housing for families and individuals who are struggling with the high cost of living in our community. I will encourage greater public participation and transparency in council decisions. I will honor our official community plan, engage residents in the review of our regional sustainability strategy, and further efforts to protect and repair our natural environment. I will advocate for careful management of fiscal resources while providing essential services and living within the realities of our current tax base. I'd like to stress the importance of I'll collaborate with provincial and federal and local governments to maximize funding opportunities and deliver services in the most cost-effective way. I'd like to stress the importance of this last point. In September this last year, the Columbia Institute released a report called Who's Picking Up the Tab? It states that since the 1950s, Canada's infrastructure responsibilities have shifted from 34% of capital investment to 13%. Over the same period, the municipal share of infrastructure costs has increased from 27% to 48%. Our municipal budget and your property taxes have been impacted by this trend. Combined with our current debt, our aging infrastructure, as well as the demands for new facilities and services, it's an understatement to say that we are facing significant financial pressure within the District of Central Saanich. That is why I've been asking for a review of service levels to ensure that we are meeting your priorities and actively finding ways to reduce costs and improve efficiencies. In closing, may I remind you that we'll all be paying for the decisions your elected council makes in the next 4 years. Your vote for me is a vote for leadership, accountability, and fiscal control, and I would be honored to continue as your voice on Central Saanich Council.
Thank you. The next speaker is Baldev Lally.
Hi there. My name is Baldev Lally. I'm running for council. Please don't mind me reading my notes, as I don't want to run over my allotted time. I've been a business owner for 30 years, owning and operating Xanavision Video, and one of them in Saanichton. Been a licensed home builder till 2011, and I've been retired since then. Reason that made me run for this office is our children saying that they will never be able to own a home due to the high prices, and that is very true, and a problem that should be addressed. If housing and business remain the same way as they are now, our future generations will not be able to live here. Lots are priced at $300,000 or more. The reason for high prices is supply and demand. How do we solve this? Have more supply of affordable lots than demand, which in return will help to drop prices under $200,000 for lots around 5,000 square feet, so they are affordable for our new generation. We are a vast and rich nation, and our citizens should be able to own a home and still be able to live and enjoy their lives. We need to rebuild Keating Industrial Area to have more jobs here and higher tax base. To do that, we need more offices and newer industrial buildings, and to be business friendly, so businesses move here. We want to leave our ALR and productive farmland as farmland forever, but build on areas not farmable. I'm not in favor of building on productive farmland, as I believe that it is an important element of our city and needs to be maintained. With small lots, more houses, and more industrial area, we should be able to reduce our property taxes. Property taxes will come down as we'll get more tax per square foot of space. Please help me help our children. The issue is for the benefit of our children, and if you like this issue, please tell your friends to support the issue at hand. For more details, please visit baldevlali.com. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Sean Monroe.
Hi there, my name is Sean Monroe, and I'm running for council because I'm a proud and invested resident of Central Saanich, and I feel that I can make a difference for the people of Central Saanich. I grew up in the area. I grew up in Old West on an acreage, and I spent my time going to local schools like Prospect Lake, Beaver Lake, Royal Oak, and Claremont. And I continued on to get a science degree at the University of Victoria, where I majored in geography and I've got a minor in biology. And I also have a environmental tech diploma from the Camosun College. With a passion for knowledge and a drive to make a difference, I have volunteered in different projects for many years. Some include Project Literacy Victoria, where I focused on helping people read and write and use computers. I've also been involved in multiple committees, such as Health and Safety, and I've been on a board member for an employment society. And currently, I sit on the CRD Intermunicipal GIS Committee. In addition to this, I volunteered in Paraguay supporting many non-governmental organization projects, helping residents become more sustainable and increase their food production. My involvement in other cultures through extensive travel, 11 years employed as an environmental consultant with a local business, and as well as working for local government for the past 9 years, I feel that my diverse and extensive background has given me an understanding and a drive to help my local community, and also a unique perspective that I will bring to the table to enhance the district and create a more engaged and social responsible future. My vision as a councillor, I want to concentrate on 3 broad areas. First off, I want to focus on the local focus, which is listening and acting on behalf of the residents of Central Saanich. Secondly, I want to focus on local food and encourage community involvement in sustainable food sources. And lastly, I want to focus on local business. I want to promote and encourage positive business relationships. I promise you integrity, dedication, and strong communication skills and effective collaboration with others to inspire action towards common goals. I have always come back to Central Saanich, and I'm proud to call it my home. Being elected to council will give me the ability to give back to the community I love. Thank you.
The next speaker is Zeb King.
Thank you very much. My name is Zeb King, and I want to thank the ratepayers for once again holding an all-candidates meeting. And I want to thank all of you for coming out on a rainy evening. I also want to thank Sartlip and Sayout and the Coast Salish people whose traditional territory we are on. It has been an honor to serve as your counselor for a total of 9 years. Central Saanich is a special place for me because it is where my grandparents lived and where my wife and I call home. Some of the most thrilling things for me as a counselor are to knock on doors and meet interesting people, and also meet with you during my office hours at the Municipal Hall. I'm still the only counselor that has open office hours to meet with the members of the community. In the past 3 years, Central Saanich has gotten some unwanted notoriety around the world. Maclean's magazine for January 2013 listed 99 stupidest things government did with your money. Unfortunately, Central Saanich came in at number 37 when council voted to give absent councillor Terry Siklinka leave with pay while working another job in the Cayman Islands. I was the only councillor of that time who voted against that decision because I knew it was wrong. Having regular town hall meetings, restoring the record of votes, webcasting meetings, protecting our environment, and making farming viable, these are all things I support and we need more of. From members of our community, I often hear that we need bike lanes, sidewalks, and trails, but we need to work together to get those things done. Recently, I was contacted by Lois, who asked me if I could help her get bus service further into Sayout First Nation, where she lives. I said, sure, and we're still working on that. We're hoping to get that done very soon. I also want to tell you about Sandra, who inspires me a whole lot. Over the 9 years that she's had MS, and it's gotten worse, she would attend council meetings. She can't attend council meetings anymore, but she still wants to vote. And in the by-election, I managed to work with her and others to change the election procedure so that she could vote by mail, and that mail ballot was preserved for the by-election. There are many issues that come up in our community, but what I can tell you is that overall, you can count on me to be fair and to work with you to get results. I'm not afraid to stand alone to do the right thing because I'm not alone. I'm with you. I'm Zeb King, and I ask for your vote. Let's go to council together.
The next speaker is Susan Mason.
Good evening, everybody. It's really great to see you all out on this terrible, wet, rainy night. So thank you for coming out. Having served on Central Saanich Council for 9 years, I have a proven track record for good, common sense decision-making and would be honored to continue serving you. There are things that I have worked hard to advocate for and would really like to see through to completion. Guidelines for the Saanich Village are underway, and with my experience working on the Brentwood Village design guidelines and implementation, I feel I would be a valuable asset to this process. Times have changed, and we need to be focused on tomorrow, just as the Sowett Band are doing with the development of the Jeskin Centre on the east side of this highway. This will have an impact on how we do business in Central Saanich. It's vital that we establish an economic strategy in conjunction with First Nations and our neighboring municipalities. I believe that we should create a good base to actively stimulate business and economic growth while encouraging symbiotic business relationships throughout the entire district. Ensuring healthy financial sustainability for our farmers and business people will continue to be one of my passions. We need to reevaluate the Keating industrial area and develop a vision and master plan. By encouraging a work-live environment, we could create a vibrant community and economic generator, such as Dockside Green, Yaletown, and False Creek, all industrial areas that changed course and attained their full potential, enabling our young people to work and live in Central Saanich. By establishing a master plan before the Butler Pit reaches the end of its capacity, we create stability and opportunity, encouraging developers to invest in the area, potentially increasing our tax base. Good planning enables good decisions. I am troubled when I see over $1 million approved for the purchase of Maber Flats, when the Agricultural Advisory Committee has voiced concerns. Sources say that design and construction costs can run anywhere from $2.4 million to $8 million over the next few years. How does this initiative rank against other district priorities? I believe we need to have meaningful public engagement to share input and understanding as to what our financial priorities are. I see enormous potential in Central Saanich, and we just need to step up and explore it. Thank you.
Next up, Chris Graham. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Christopher Graham, and I'm running for council. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight to listen to us. It's much appreciated. You know, you have been in a lot of elections when you start looking forward to them as a way to reconnect with old friends. I have door knocked on more than 800 homes, and I've been really happy with the response, and I've met some great people. A lot of the people remember me as the 12-year-old that was elected to council. I was actually 18 at the time, but the youngest ever elected in Canada. You might say I grew up on council. I have given the majority of my adult life to public service and would like you to give me the chance to continue to do so. Coming from a pioneer family, I take the long-term perspective. As a tour operator, my livelihood depends on a healthy environment. As a farmer, I want to see our farms thrive. As a partner with a tax and accounting company, my business depends on other businesses doing well. So I have the strongest interest in keeping this one of the best places in the world to live. With 89% of our property tax base being residential and representing 77% of the property tax take, and interest on debt payments forecasted to rise, it is critical that we find ways to grow the tax base. I have heard from the community that Keating revitalization is a top priority. During my tenure, I pushed for a high-level bylaw review of all the allowable uses within the industrial zone to try and generate more business opportunities. I am going to put the weight of the district behind this, including improving traffic safety by working with the province to create safer access on and off the highway, and promote redevelopment with residential over business where appropriate to create affordable housing that will generate economic activity in Keating by bringing in workers and customers. I believe in infill, but I also believe it must work with the community. I will support efforts to develop infill guidelines that make sure new development will enhance neighborhoods and address local concerns. I have had a long track record of wise budget management. With careful scrutiny and building relationships while on council, I identified a calculation error and was successful in having $150,000 of annual grant funding restored. You trusted me to be your representative on council from 1996 to 2008. I hope you'll trust me again to represent you for the next 4 years. Thank you very much.
Next up is Bob Thompson.
Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Bob Thompson, and I am running for council. I'm running for council because I believe my experiences as a former councillor and active member of this community will support balanced and fiscally responsible decisions that lead us towards a sustainable community, a community that reflects our core values. Most recently, I served on council from 2002 to 2008, and from 2008 to 2012, sat on the Advisory Planning Commission, including several years as chair. Since then, I have been active in the community, organizing the Saanich Peninsula Harvest Feast, serving as a director of the Saanich Village Association, and managing the Peninsula Country Market, for example. My goal is to apply these experiences in working with members of our community to find solutions to community issues, to make reasonable and respected decisions that support livable neighborhoods, vibrant commercial centers, and a sustainable rural economy within the context of the official community plan. For more than 15 years, I have worked in support of small-scale agriculture and food security. Farming is a business, and like any business, must be profitable to be sustainable. We need to actively support our farming community through policies that encourage farming and encourage consumers to eat local. Simply saving the ALR land base is not enough. It's no different for businesses in our commercial centers. Local businesses generate products, services, jobs, taxes, and support community events. Many of these businesses are run by our neighbors, hardworking residents of this community. If we do not make active choice to shop locally, our village centers will not be sustainable. So I believe that Central Saanich should partner with local business to promote a Shop Local initiative. Over the last decade, our OCP has evolved and will continue to evolve. Infill and densification are supported as alternatives to suburban sprawl. And this isn't about development for the sake of development. It's about housing for young families, for workers, for retirees who want to stay in Central Saanich. But privacy and quality of life are important features of our neighborhoods. Infill and densification must be site-sensitive and respect the character of neighborhoods. There isn't a candidate here who won't commit to fiscal responsibility. Without question, we need to be vigilant in managing infrastructure projects. But how, as a community, do we manage our own expectations of local government services so council can better control expenses and keep tax increases down? So thank you for listening, and look forward to answering your questions and ask for your vote on November 15th for Bob Thompson, the only Bob on the ballot. Thank you.
And Next up is Carl Jensen.
Good evening. My name is Carl Jensen. I'm here this evening tonight looking for your support to re-elect me as a councillor for Central Saanich. I have a wife, 3 kids in school here. One of them is in Brentwood Elementary, one of them is in Bayside, and one of them is in Stellies. Outside of that, I've got a BA in sociology. I've got an MBA in business administration. In terms of work, what have I done for the last few years? I've worked for the province for the last 7 years. I started as a project manager with the Ministry of Small Business and Revenue, and for the last 5 years, I've been a supervisor with the Ministry of Finance. In terms of community service, I've been a coach with Peninsula Soccer, as well as with Peninsula Track and Field. Prior to being elected, I was a citizen representative on the Central Saanich Advisory Planning Commission, as well as the Peninsula Recreation Commission. And before that, I did volunteer time with the Royal Roads Academic Council, YMCA Youth Out of the Rain Shelter, as well as the Victoria Youth Custody Center. But really, who is Carl? Who am I? Well, for some of you, I'm your neighbor. For others, I'm your coworker. For some, I'm a customer. For some of your kids, I might even be their soccer or their track and field coach. But most importantly, I'm a fellow resident, just like you. And in the last 15 years of living in Central Saanich, and especially in the last 3 years representing you on council, I've had a chance to speak to a lot of you. And as a result of these discussions, as a result of what I've learned from my colleagues around the council table, I've come up with 4 priorities for the years ahead for Central Saanich. First is to help create attainable housing. An opportunity for young families that want to be part of Central Saanich. An opportunity for those that are working in the community to live here and not have to bus home to towns outside of Central Saanich. An opportunity for the retirees that are looking to downsize, that want a smaller property. My second priority is to support the farmers. But to support them by looking and working with them to develop innovative and sustainable farming projects, listening to the Agriculture Advisory Committee in terms of action plan suggestions that they bring to council, working with the farmers that are looking to put farm worker housing on their property. My third priority is to support the business community, and to do this by actively working to support the Central Saanich Economic Development Advisory Committee, because that's going to give an opportunity for all businesses right across our community, from Brentwood to Keating to Saanichton, as well as the First Nations businesses, a chance to come and be heard at the council table. And my fourth priority is to develop a walkability master plan. It's time for us to create safe passageway in our community, whether you live in Brentwood Bay, Saanichton, Sartlet, Sayo, Keating, Tanner Ridge. It's time to look at a long-term plan that's going to start to create safe passageway for our residents for the years to come. On November 15th, I would appreciate your support. I'm Carl Jensen, seeking re-election for councillor.
Thank you for coming out, friends, family, and neighbors. My name is Niall Paltiel, and as a resident, born and raised right here in Central Saanich, as somebody actively involved in my community, and somebody who spent the last 2 months on the doorstep, door knocking around Central Saanich, I hear time and time again, we love Central Saanich. We love our community. We appreciate the balance between rural character and wholesome urban centers. We believe in the potential of our Keating Industrial Park, and most importantly, we love the people here in Central Saanich. I'm running today because I believe in Central Saanich, and I want it to be the best place and the most vibrant place that it can be for today, tomorrow, and years to come, as it's the place where I want to grow and raise a family. I want this to be the best place it can be for young families emerging in our community, for seniors on a fixed income who are hoping to downsize and stay and live in the place they love, and for our farmers to make sure that agriculture is sustainable and farmers' voices are heard with succession planning. I will do this with 3 priorities at the council table. 1, maintain and grow business and attainable housing through working and speaking with our business owners and making sure that we respect the official community plan and that our decisions are in keeping with existing neighborhoods. 2, respecting your tax dollars. Believe it or not, at the age of 19, I bought my first house. I started a landscaping business. I saved up, so I understand fiscal responsibility. I also understand the demands and the infrastructure needs that we have as a community. And number 3, protect our agriculture and our farmable land. This means working with our farmers and our community to work on succession planning for farms and making sure that our farmers' voices are heard at the council table. I spent my summers while going to university in public admin shucking hay on the peninsula. I've experienced the hard work that goes into farming. And if you elect me to Central Saanich Council, I will work just as hard to represent you at the table. Thank you very much, and please vote Niall Peltiel this November 15th.
Thank you very much, all of you. We now have questions from the audience, and I'm going to start off with one that seems to be topical. There are 2 questions, and I'm going to ask them more or less simultaneously. They're both about Mavor Flats. Are you in favor of Central Saanich buying the floodplain of Mavor Flats? If so, why? And the second one says, the Mavor Flats property seems to be very expensive. Would you be willing to obtain a second appraisal on the property? And I think I'd like to start at the far end of the table and work this way. And if you don't want to answer the question, you don't have to.
I think on my paper there I've asked for a moratorium on the sale of all land. I think its ownership is very questionable. And I think that we should all consider what's going on with our native people here and what's happened to them. This land is actually not owned by anybody. If you just look in as much as Wikipedia, you'll find that land ownership is held by the Crown and that you have permission to be on that land. You don't really own it, and that's why they can tax you on it. I'm asking for a suspension of all taxes and that the land be stopped being bought and sold until its ownership can be validated. Thank you.
I appreciate this question, Ian. Those who have been watching council know that I happen to live right next door to the subject property and have refrained from making comments or statements with regard to the property. So unfortunately, I'm going to continue with that practice at this point and not make any comment or statement with regard to Mavor Flats.
To answer that question, I've analyzed all the details, and the appraisal, I think, it's totally unreal the way it is arrived at. I went to the open house and I asked the people how they arrived at it, and they said they looked at a bunch of parcels, all different sizes, and that's how they came up with that $37,000 an acre on $1 million purchase of 27.5 acres. It's a flooded area, it's peat soil, and the only parcel that you can relate it to is the one that Mitchell Brothers bought off Van Trites on Martindale Road. That's 24.5 acres, and they paid $625,000. That equates to $25,500 an acre, and we're paying $37,000 to the purchase of Mavor Flats. That's highway robbery. That's over $300,000 excess in what the value of the property should be going for. And the question is, do I support another appraisal? I'm not positive if council had already made a decision to buy the parcel from the landowners on Monday, so if it hasn't been done, definitely, because I understand Alicia Cormier had asked for a review of the assessment, and I was told that $6,000 to $10,000 cost to buy to assess the property. Did you ever know $6,000 to $10,000 is peanuts compared to $300,000 bonus that we're paying for the property? Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. I talked earlier with Ryan on this. We met last week, whatever, and I'm totally not against a full review, because this is going to affect all probably 16,000 taxpayers and people who work hard. A full review, because this is very, very expensive. Thank you.
I actually was on the ISMP, the Integrated Stormwater Management Plan group, and we reviewed it at that time, and it came up as something we needed to do. Actually, the idea of the water retention area actually came up in 1994, the Dayton and Knight report, and nothing was done at that time, and it was something in the order of $1.75 million it would have taken at that time, and nobody did anything about it. So we could put it off, and we could go further and wait and wait and wait. But I think 20 years is a long time to actually hold in advance. So I'm going to say that it's time to act. It's not time to study it again. Thank you.
Thank you. John's quite right. The ISMP, the Integrated Stormwater Management Plan, does identify the need to address flooding in that area, address runoff from other parts of the municipality. It also provides benefits of restoring a natural wetland, which is very important for environmental needs. The Agricultural Advisory Committee, to which I am a liaison, had a number of significant concerns and a number of significant questions relating to the value of the land, the agrology report, the plan moving forward. What I've done is put motions forward to council recently that asked for other appraisals to be done, asked for an extension of an engagement period so that we can take time to review the ISMP for folks who maybe weren't aware of it or hadn't considered it in a while, as well to look at, are there partnership opportunities to help us? Is there an ability to address the concerns of the farmers and get their questions answered? I've put those motions forward. To date, I've not been successful. I have found a few other things that were recommended by the Agriculture Advisory Committee that I'll be putting back to council next week. I think there are merits in the program, but I think that there is also time needed to evaluate the plan and to address the concerns that come forward. The other thing that I've put forward is, there are a number of infrastructure challenges in front of us. We've got an $8 million debt for the fire hall. We need a new municipal hall, or at the very least address some serious health and safety concerns. Going forward with an engineered wetland without an understanding of how those costs compare to other priorities and other needs. We've got a stormwater sewage management. The pipes again might need some funding over time. So we need to take the time to look at this and put it into perspective in the long-term financial plan, is my opinion.
If you guys feel it's overvalued, then yes, we should reassess it. And that's all I want to say.
Well, definitely, I agree that it should be reassessed, but I think that we need to slow things down and reevaluate what has been done. I don't know if we have come to a full decision on what the best way to take this. So I think that we should slow down and reevaluate it.
Thank you very much. I absolutely agree that a second appraisal is worthwhile. We need to do that. I also want to take my hat off to Councillor Cormier, who has brought forward motions to council, and despite the fact that they haven't been supported, and you can see this online thanks to the webcasting of meetings, I think she has done a good service for the community in raising a lot of important points, and we need to do that due diligence. So I've been proud to support and second those motions and to ensure that your money, your tax dollars, are spent wisely. Thank you.
As I said earlier, I was troubled over the $1 million cost approved for the purchase of Maber Flats, particularly when the Agricultural Advisory Committee had voiced concerns. And I'm hearing concerns from neighbors and other farmers at the price that has been settled on. And I don't know why, for the sake of a few $1,000s on a purchase this large, we couldn't go out and get a second appraisal done. I think that would have been due diligence. I'm concerned too at the ISMP. The information that we have is now outdated. Things have been done to the land. There's been berming, lands have been raised, and we haven't really got a thorough qualitative and quantitative analysis of that land and how we're going to approach this, how we're going to approach the design of this and the implementation. We don't know what the total cost is going to be over the next 8 years. That really concerns me. Is it a priority? I know we want to do something about the flooding, but do we have other priorities in our district that we need to look at before we look at this? I think, quite honestly, we need to slow down on this one. It's just, I feel like it's just been sort of pushed through, and I didn't hear or see any discussion at the council table when the Agricultural Advisory Committee came forward with their report. There was no discussion. And I think this needs further discussion and further public input. Thank you.
Just wondering if it's going to blow. I think there's two aspects to the Maber Flats project. First off, is it a good idea to go ahead with it? I think that's undoubtedly yes. It was identified as a way to control downstream flooding. That was identified as a benefit to agriculture because right now we have a big seasonal problem with when it rains, it just goes straight through and floods down further down, and in the summer it dries right up. So, or not right up, but it makes it very challenging because that is cutthroat trout habitat as well. So if we can do this project, I think there's a lot of environmental spin-offs and agricultural spin-offs that would be a benefit. The other aspect, though, due diligence. It's very hard for me to comment on what due diligence has been done, if the appropriate numbers are there or not, since that's been handled in camera. I think there's not only the issue of the appraisal, but the fact that you've got one buyer and one seller means that the land prices may fall out of line with the appraisal, and then we have to decide whether at that cost is it worth moving ahead. So I would be willing to relook at it. I know at the council meeting, staff quoted $10,000 to get a second appraisal, and to me that seemed too high, so I'm not sure where that was coming from.
I think the key issue to me is the September 4th report that was filed by the Agricultural Advisory Committee, which has, to the best of my knowledge, not been discussed, and there are several key issues in there, including and other suggestions in terms of what could be done at less cost. I would like to clearly see a discussion on that issue before it proceeded, and ideally that would include certainly a reassessment of the cost of that property. I do recognize there are positives to this, particularly for when it comes to, as Chris talked about, in terms of conservation. So there clearly is a mixed opinion in the community as to the value of this, but I think we do need to hear some responses from council and have some discussion with respect to the comments of the Agricultural Advisory Committee. We, of course, don't know if council is going to proceed with the purchase prior to the election, so this may be a moot point to a certain degree.
One of the things that I've learned during a brief stint on council is to try and keep an open mind. And I think with the Maber Flats proposal, what I've been trying to do is keep an open mind so that I can gather as much information as possible. And I think that's important because at the end of the day, I want to be open to opinions for, against, so that I have as much information as I can. So at this point, in terms of Maber Flats, I'm still trying to keep an open mind with it. so that I can continue to hear what needs to be said, to still engage with information that's coming forward, because I think at the end of the day, the minute we close our minds and stop listening, then there's not a lot of points. So at this point, I'm still waiting for more information so that I can have that all there to make an analysis before I make a final decision.
This has been an extremely contentious issue. It's been fun reading about it in the newspaper, and I've also been attending council meetings for the last year. I've also been going to the agricultural meetings as well, so I've been hearing the concerns. I echo some of those concerns as far as it goes for cost, the size of the project, and for protecting our ecology. That said, the place where they've suggested it is the only place it can be done. So of course we do need to look at that proposal. For the people here who are concerned about the cost, I will assure them that there is, as far as our process goes, we do need to have a second approval or appraisal before we make a final decision. So that will happen regardless of whether or not we make our final closing sale. And absolutely, I think what we need at this point is a fresh set of eyes to come to the council table, understand what the farmers and neighbors have to say, and make an informed decision through listening and learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I suggest that the candidates give their name before answering, because some of the folks may not know who you are. By the way, I have a phone call from our MP Elizabeth May, who sends her apologies for not being here, but she's not able to be here. However, our MLA, Gary Holman, is here. Gary, would you like to stand up and say hello? Thank you for coming out. All right. The next question is from the executive of the Saanich Inlet Protection Society, and I'm going to start in the middle and ask Mr. King to start answering this question. We'll work this way and then go the other way. On October 10th, there were 86 boats on moorings in Brentwood Bay, and in the summer there were well over 100. And several of them, or many of them, have people living on them. How would you deal with the issues of boats taking up increasing space in the bay at the expense of other boaters' use of the water, parking problems both on streets and the municipal wharf associated with boats on moorings, the problems with sewage and garbage generated, and the liveaboard boaters' need for fresh water, which they are taking from local marinas, and the boats that have been abandoned on the bay?
Wow. There's a lot in that. But it's been an issue that has been going on for probably beyond the 9 years that I've been on council. It's an important issue. It's our inlet. It's important that it's clean, and we address this. I can tell you, though, I think that Central Saanich has led the way with the other levels of government sometimes passing the buck between themselves as to who's responsible. I think at times Central Saanich has done a good job. Well, we've taken this issue to the UBCM, and I've spoken there, others have spoken there, with other municipalities, because this is an issue that affects others around the province. I've also mentioned this issue at the tri-municipal meetings with Sydney and North Saanich, where we have periodic meetings with them. They also share the concern. And together, the hope is we will keep the pressure up on senior levels of government to address this issue. We don't have full jurisdiction to address it, but we do have a voice. And it's important on this issue and other issues that we don't just throw our hands up in the air when we don't have jurisdiction, but we say our voice is important as a municipal council to speak up on this, to speak up on other environmental matters where we don't necessarily have the legislation behind us, but we can make ourselves heard at council. I will be a strong voice and make sure that we are heard as Central Saanich to protect our inlet, our environment.
This is an issue that's gone on for years. I know myself at UBCM, and whenever we're talking to the ministers, be it federal, be it provincial, we bring this issue up, and everybody's passing the buck. Nobody wants to take responsibility. It's not my jurisdiction, oh, it's so-and-so's jurisdiction, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. Actually, we have done a good job, as Mr. King said, at bringing it to the forefront. We just still need to keep hammering away at the federal government, at the provincial government, and you know, just to get really aggressive, I guess is what I'd like to see happen. Thank you.
Hi, Chris Graham. Well, all councils since I was been on council and been off council have taken this very seriously. So I agree with the comments that were previously said. I think, though, when it really comes down to is because the senior levels of government are saying, well, unless there's money on the table, unless you want to take over that responsibility, we're not really wanting to do it, even though it's their responsibility. So I guess that it comes down to the question of, do we want to put our money where our mouth is and look at arranging a system where we can do the enforcement and pick up the cost? I suspect that's probably the best likelihood of us getting action on this issue.
Bob Thompson, I don't really have, I mean, I've been on council off and on. I remember being in the council in the early 90s, and I can remember being down on the Saanich Inlet in Brentwood Bay and listening to problems about liverboards in 1993. Certainly councils have acted or have tried to act and achieve things. I certainly do strongly continue to support that. I don't have a lot of specific suggestions other than, for example, looking at reviewing bylaws in terms of the on-land perspective and new marinas when they come up. But I do recognize it as being a serious problem and would certainly continue the work of what council has done.
Hello, Carl Jensen this time. Now, this is a great issue, derelict vessels, the inlet. Why? Because it's the one thing we all agree on. I haven't once heard a business case yet saying, let's leave them be, we can make some money that way. This is about partnerships. I think we saw with the previous council, they made some headway with this. You saw a partnership that brought local government together with the provincial government and the federal government to start making some progress. We can keep doing that. At the most recent UBCM, Councillor Cormier, Councillor Windsor, and myself met with Ministry of Environment, Minister Polak. And in that discussion with Minister Polak, we spoke of a plan to meet with the Ministry of Forest, Lands, and Natural Resource Operations, the ones whose jurisdiction it was. And in discussing the process, the partnership, she said, well, can we come to that meeting too? We'd like to be part of that. So I think that shows that there is an opportunity to work together, and it's even nicer when you don't go there asking for something and they offer it up. So that's the kind of thing we can do, whether it's taking the opportunity at UBCM to meet with the ministers and to let them know how things are going in the inlet, because they do care and they do want to hear about it. So I support that, whether it's meeting with them at UBCM, whether it's, we're very fortunate having them here in Victoria, we have the ability to follow up with them. They get to hear even more from the squeaky wheels in Saanich Peninsula because we're this close. So that is, as far as I'm concerned, partnership, it's something that the council, we all see eye to eye with, and there's an opportunity to do that and to take it to the next level of government.
Hello, Niall Paltiel. It's been a fun one. One of the first places I went door knocking was actually down in the Brentwood Bay. And it was hilarious because I thought, you know, oh, I just hit a house, we'd have a nice chat, and I'd move on. Well, every single house was like, okay, come in, you have to see this. Like, look at all these boats here. And so, I mean, it's definitely a concern of the neighbors. It's definitely a concern of council. I had the great pleasure of joining the Saanich Inlet Protection Society, go up to Brentwood College, and representatives from around the area discuss the issue of derelict vessels and liveaboards in our communities. It's one that I learned about in 2011. We can harken back to that, where Central Saanich did a partnership with the federal government, where what they did is they actually put traffic lanes in the Brentwood Bay. And what that did is that effectively reduced the amount of traffic there because there was tickets, there was enforcement, and there was action being taken. I think it was by about 30%. I think you guys were, Ian, you were, yeah, it was about 30% anyway. And so I think that very clearly outlines the second part of this question is what can we do about it? We need to make sure that we're working with other levels of government, and we need to make sure that our bylaw officers are able to do their job effectively and make sure that we take the issue and we deal with it in an ongoing and effective manner.
Hi, Sean Monroe. Well, we have to be careful with this because the federal and provincial governments are continuously downloading services, costs onto the municipalities. And we have to be clear that there's only one Saanich inlet, and we have to keep it clean, and we have to deal with these derelict boats. But I think that we're going to have to work with the different levels of government and to get funding from them to help deal with these boats, because it's not a cost that the taxpayers of Central Saanich should be taking on. Thank you.
I'm Baldev Lali, and I do not know too much about this issue, so I'll have no comments on it.
Thank you. It's Alicia Cormier, and I've had the opportunity to attend 2 of the last 3 meetings for the broader representative group of the Saanich Inlet. And first of all, I wanted to say that there's some really tremendous volunteer resources at work on this, and I'd like to thank them. At the Brentwood College meeting that Niall mentioned, there was a report given, a very thorough analysis of the problem. There was also a recommendation by Dennis Copeland around what Central Saanich could do. And I think there are some really good ideas, but I do agree that we're the closest to the problem, but this is federal and provincial responsibility. And if we continue to take on the work of our senior governments, your property taxes are going to be impacted by that. That's the way that municipal governments have the most opportunity to fund its services. So I think that there are volunteer resources that we can encourage and work with. I think there has been a new brochure or booklet issued for provincial, federal, as well as regional services that are available to us. There was a big confusion around who does what, and that has now been clarified in this book. There are some federal areas that can be addressed. There is some provincial. We did recently pass a motion to write to the province to look at perhaps taking on some responsibilities. I'm cautious about that because I think that we need to, again, look at where does it fit within our tax system. But yes, absolutely, this is a really serious problem. I am a kayaker, and I don't like what I'm seeing out there. And there are some things we can do locally, but we have to push back for both the provincial and the federal, and take up the offer of the Minister of Environment. And Elizabeth May has done a great job as well by bringing a petition to Parliament around this being a no-dumping zone. So things are at work. We need to continue to work, and we need to continue to insist on involvement from the provincial and feds on this.
John Hannam. Yes, we definitely have to have the federal and provincial people working on this. We need legislation. We can't do it alone. And in terms of if they even do pass something, it comes down to the cost of the municipality, because the bylaw officers can only act upon what is there, and if we don't have it in place, there's just nothing. I don't know what the answer is going to be, because the federal government or provincial government would like to download it onto the municipality. So therefore, yes, we can do it, but then again, as was already mentioned, the tax access will have to increase for individuals within the municipality. So it's sort of we're caught between a rock and a hard place, but I think that the process is in place, that we will have to have the municipality working with the federal and provincial authorities and try and get something done. And Elizabeth May, I think, is a good resource that we should really keep in contact with her and keep it moving forward. Thank you.
So I guess Tex Moudry here. The magic word would be Elizabeth May, and being a biased Liberal, when she's got to do is meet with Justin, discuss it together. And the election's coming up, as you know, just 12 months, and you know how fast time goes, and solve this, because our voice has to be heard to keep that place clean, keep it beautiful, and keep it spacious.
Jack Marr. I just wanted to indicate that in 2008 or 2009, I called the first meeting of the derelict vessels, and we met with Transport Canada, CRD Parks. The Environment Minister did not show up. We invited people from Ladysmith and Mill Bay, and we all got together, and then after a couple of years, actually, the Transport Canada and the district actually got together and eliminated some of those vessels. And the only cost to the district was we supplied the trucks actually to haul the stuff away, and it ended up in the Sartlet Reserve. And I'm saying that if I should be lucky on November the 15th, I will call another meeting and invite those people, because Central Saanich can only deal with anything above high water mark. It comes under Transport Canada's responsibility, and the province has a say in it, but we can't do a heck of a lot on our own. Thank you.
Hi there, Ryan Windsor. I have a lot to say, and I probably would fill more time than I'm allowed, but I will keep my comments brief. I would acknowledge the work of former Councillor Adam Olsen, especially on this file. Adam taught me a lot on this file. My leadership stems from what he did when he was on council. One of the first things I did on council was to pass a motion, or to bring forward a motion that was passed by council to endorse roundtables. There have been several on this issue to deal with the long list: derelict vessels, placement of vessels, mooring buoys, sewage. With respect to Elizabeth May, I brought forward a motion to council endorsing the petition to the House of Commons, calling for the requirement of holding tanks aboard vessels. This currently is not a requirement out there. So out there right now, everyone is carte blanche dumping. With respect to Jack's comments, we actually do have jurisdiction on the surface of the water up to 1,000 feet. So I disagree with him on that. We do have a responsibility. The City of Victoria has demonstrated that the sea floor, which is governed by the province, and everything else, which is governed by DFO, the City of Victoria has acknowledged that in order to straighten the mess out, we need to bring it back to the local level. The residents here are the ones who are concerned. The province and the feds have the entire coastline to deal with. This is our coastline. This is the one we've got to deal with. And frankly, abdicating our responsibility to deal with it decries a respect for First Nations who have fished out there for thousands of years, and there are no salmon out there anymore because there's so much pollution, and this is a major part of it. And we cannot abdicate our responsibility on this any longer. We need to continue to move this forward and take responsibility for something for once. Thank you.
To take responsibility, you have to be allowed to be responsible. And if government is preventing us from doing anything in a free way, and we're destroying the very culture that we're thinking to preserve, then we're lost. I stood up because I don't believe in government. They got 522 bylaws here. You couldn't possibly understand them all. They got 14 different inspection departments that if you want a permit, you've got to go through all these different avenues that just prevent you from doing anything. And stopping a few boats from being a little bit derelict, that shouldn't be that difficult a problem. But what's the problem is we have to have more rules and regulations and go and get bylaws and police to go and deal with this when we should be dealing with it from a local level. You should be getting active and go down and understand the situation. Recently in Parliament, I'm going to mention this because this is the news, the fellow that was the shooter went into the cop shop a week and a half before he did that action, and he asked for help. He wasn't given any help. And so that's what happened. It's when you, the people, don't listen and act to deal with the situation from the local level. Forget the government. The government is inept, they're incompetent. They haven't dealt with these issues properly before, and they're not going to do it in the future. Thank you.
All right. I'd appreciate it if you'd keep your answers as brief as possible. And this time around, we'll do it the other way around. We'll start again with Mr. King and go this way. No, we did that last time. Go that way first and then back. Okay, this is a skill testing question. Why hasn't Central Saanich received funding from the CRD Housing Trust Fund to construct affordable housing here?
Thank you for the question. Can you hear me? Yes. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund is something that when I was on council a number of years ago, argued that Central Saanich should be part of. It's up to each municipality to contribute. And I argued that we could leverage funds from that to build affordable housing in Central Saanich. As far as I know, we haven't had applications. We haven't championed this in Central Saanich. And so while we are paying towards the fund, there's a great opportunity for us to bring some of that money that we are spending back to Central Saanich, back to the peninsula, if we were to champion some needed affordable housing on the peninsula.
I'm going to pass on this question.
Affordable housing should be for everyone. And what we need to do is bring the prices down and then bring the fund in one way or the other.
Thank you. I'm Alicia Cormier, and for the last year and a half, I have been the representative on the CRD Housing Trust Fund for Central Saanich. The fund is very well utilized throughout the region, but you're quite right that we have not had a project here in Central Saanich, and we are very well positioned for this. There is municipal land within walking distance of Brentwood, within Saanich on the bus routes. We have land available. What we need is to reach out to the housing societies and the building community to put something forward. And it is a motion that I do want to bring forward if I'm re-elected. There's an incredible need here. I was just at a women's business networking meeting last week, and the executive director of the Sydney Food Bank was saying how generous our community is. But they are providing food daily and weekly to the working poor in our community. And she told me in private about a gentleman whose wife passed away because of cancer. It ate up their equity in their house, and he and their 8-year-old son are living in a storage locker. When I was elected, the day of the last by-election, I was phoned by a woman who lives in an apartment by the Waddling Dog, and they're lovely apartments, but she doesn't have a car. The bus system doesn't work for her very conveniently. She needs access to the food bank. She needs access to medical care. And what she said to me was, "You're my angel. You're going to get me housing somewhere where I can walk to these services." And it means a lot to me to think that we need to do that. And you know, I've been advocating at the council table when it's in our OCP.
Alicia.
Okay.
John Hannum. I don't know what particular pieces of municipal land are available. I do know that we have an OCP for land in the municipality. You just don't come along and say you're going to put houses here, X, Y, or Z. You have to have a developer. You have to make sure the services are available. There's all kinds of things. However, if the money is available and we have the land, if it is made available to a developer, or we can make it available, then I think we should move forward. But you can't just apply without a project in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Tex Moudry. I was watching a little bit the Yanyan Hotel project where they're building affordable lofts for people who want to live at affordable price. And I think that should be studied more. And I think that when it comes to the Keating Crossroads, there's so much land there, and there's no reason why we can't invite investors to come in there and start investing. There's a lot of opportunity there, lots. For example, there's no reason why we can't updo the zoning 4 stories high. Why can't we do that? Why should the area of further down get all the investment, especially when you do the Colwood Crawl area? They're getting so much investment in there. In Langford, why should they have the investment? We can have the investment. We're closer to the ferries. We're closer to the airport. For people to invest in Keating, it's a win-win situation. They save on their wear and tear of the tires. They save on the gasoline. They save on the time, the precious time when they go to the ferry. So I'm up for upzoning 4-story up in Keating Crossroad and make that place a vibrant place.
Jack Marr. I've been looking at affordable or low-cost housing for the last 4 years. I was approached by a member of the CRD committee on housing if there was any land available. When I was looking around, I found a piece, but I couldn't move it forward because there was no support. That was the piece that the district just leased it to the Boys and Girls Club down by the library. So that piece is gone. I've got another parcel that it's within walking distance of the bus and the school, but there's a misunderstanding on the ownership of the property. It's in the district, but how it became the district property is the issue, and I got myself into hot water, so I've got to have to ask somebody to help me out on this one. And the way I propose is if we do it, we could build a 4-plex or a 6-plex. I'm going to get the construction people to come in, dig the ground, and get people to come in and try and get funding or cheaper funding for the material, and then we could do it probably for less than $100,000 a unit. And I know that the CRD funding is $15,000 per door is the contribution from the CRD Housing Fund. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan Windsor again. I note actually MLA Holman did bring forward to our attention at Council a needs assessment, a request for a needs assessment. And, you know, I think we know there's a problem. Right now, we don't quite know what it looks like. I've talked to members of the community, and I won't name any because I don't want to sort of create a stigma over any part of the community, but we know that there are issues. What we need to do is find a way to identify what the needs are, where they are, and how to best address them, and then design a project that meets those needs. And so I appreciate the needs assessment that was proposed, and I think when we do that, it was supported. I think it will happen, and I believe it will happen. I support the process happening, and then we can move forward in a way that is actually beneficial to those who are looking for and need housing. And it's got to meet their needs. That's the key. So we need to know what they are. Thank you.
This is the most ridiculous issue, and I know it well. Recently, the tent city in Vancouver, they had 200 to 400 people there. Their method of dealing was to move the police in and push them all out into society. This is not the way to deal with it. In Victoria, I was part of tent city at Cridge Park. In 2004, we took the government to court. In 2008, we finally got a decision. The city of Victoria was ruled fundamentally unjust in their treating of people by denying them the rights to have a tent to protect themselves while sleeping outside. There was 1,200 homeless people in Victoria. This was a ridiculous situation. And it was the government of Victoria, and it's all these governments, they're not in touch with what's going on the ground floor. They had to pay our lawyers $285,000 for what they the law that they wrote prohibiting people from camping outside. I live in a 7-bedroom house. The zoning allows me to have 4 unrelated people in that house. This is ridiculous. I have 7 bedrooms. Why can't I have 7 people in that house? Why can't I have a camper in my yard with somebody living in it? These rules are unenforceable, they're unsustainable, and we have to change. And it's not going to happen from the government, it's going to happen from the people. Thank you.
Yes, if I was elected, I would definitely support a realistic, well-planned project in the right location.
I'm one of the directors on the Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, and there's a critical need for workforce housing in the area. I think one of the challenges we're facing for affordable housing is there really isn't much appropriate public land in Central Saanich. And I think if we tried to develop some of that land, I think we'd find that a lot of those neighbors are using that land as more or less a park. And I think you'd have some resistance there. I think what I would like to see, if we want to give this a try, would be a public-private partnership looking at building some workforce housing in the Keating area in particular. I think there's a lot of potential for that.
Bob Thompson, to go back to the original question, I believe it is up to a developer to come forward with a proposal and make the application for that fund. It's not up to the municipality, though a partnership may exist. I can imagine some very exciting council meetings going forward with the project. As Chris has suggested, there is limited land in Saanich, and I can think of a couple of properties, because it's not just a simple infill project. It would have to be of a certain scale. It is a challenge that we face with infill and densification in general, that it's easy to talk about it in here, but neighbors tend to get rather excited, to say the least. And if council wants to have that type of development, you have to be careful how you do it, and council also has to have the courage to stand to its decisions and vote in favor.
Carl Jensen, I think it's an interesting prospect. I would welcome the opportunity to look at such a project. I think the recent partnership with the Boys and Girls Club on district land is a good example of an evolving need in the community and a need that came forward. And I think that the part about that I found most exciting was the neighbors did come out. And initially, when we looked at that project, we were looking at 3 options. But the neighbors came out and they gave us a 4th option that we weren't even considering. So there was some compromise. There was an ability for us to, as a district, work with the neighbors to work for a solution that at the end of the day allowed an organization such as the Boys and Girls Club to find space on district land. I think there's land in Brentwood, there's land in Saanich where it can be looked at. I think it's a question of the right opportunity coming forward and the people that can drive it and council being willing to work with that. And I think from what I've seen, there's a lot of appetite there to help with that. And I think as we've heard from a number of candidates, it also is about the need. And if we can show that the need is there, I think you're going to find that the will is there from council side to support that going forward and make it work right here in our community.
Niall Paltiel. I stated in my opening comments, one of my key priorities, if elected to Central Saanich Council, is to address attainable housing in our community. I wrote a letter to the editor in the Peninsula News Review a few months back expressing the need that we as a community and as a municipality need to define affordable housing and address the needs of those people that need assistance in our community. I'm excited, if elected, to review the official community plan and find the appropriate opportunities to partner with people like we have in the past, like our Habitat for Humanity, the Boys and Girls Club, and the HERO program that is emerging so well in Victoria. But we do need developers to come forward. We need to find specific zones where this is going to work, not just brushstrokes throughout our community. And moreover, we need to elect representatives who are able to come to the CRD Attainable or Affordable Housing Committee and make a stand and stand up for Central Saanich in an effective way.
Thank you very much. Well, it is now 8:30, and it is time for wrap-up statements. So, Mr. Paltiel, you start off, and we work our way back down the table. Thank you very much.
All right, one last time. Niall Paltiel. I'd like to start out by thanking the ratepayers for having us here tonight. I would like to thank the Brentwood Community Hall for hosting this event and for all of you for sticking it out to the very end, and thanking my fellow candidates. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we could, please, a round of applause for everyone here standing up tonight. Thank you. Everybody up here on stage has come out and expressed their values and their visions for our community. I hope that in selecting your candidates this November 15th for council, you find that my perspective, my private and public sector business experience, and my common sense plan for respecting your tax dollars, maintaining growing business and attainable housing, and protecting our farmland would be an asset to you as a representative on the council table. Thank you very much again, and remember Niall this November.
Thank you. Carl Jensen, I would like to echo the comments. Thank you for coming out and giving us some of your time tonight. We appreciate you taking the time away from your families to be here with us tonight. I've been asked, why do you want to run again? And I said, because I love Central Saanich. Now, I've only been here 15 years. I know some of you laugh at that saying, haha, he's just a baby. And I know I am. But I plan on growing old here. But more importantly, I want my children to have the opportunity to grow up here, and I want them to be able to raise their kids here if that's what they choose. And I think by ensuring that we remain a vibrant, a beautiful, and sustainable community, it can happen. There's 4 things I want to achieve: attainable housing, innovative agriculture, economic development across the district, and finally, a walkability master plan. On November 15th, I'd appreciate your support. Carl Jensen seeking re-election. Thank you.
As Central Saanich evolves, it's important to reach out to the community and confirm the direction we want to go. Livable neighborhoods, vibrant commercial centers, and a sustainable rural economy are the foundation of our community. I see local government as a partnership between residents, businesses, including farms, our First Nations neighbors, and council. We share responsibility to make government work well for all of us. The challenge is how to accomplish this in a meaningful and efficient way. We are citizens, not just taxpayers. It's not just about going to public meetings. It's about feeling that someone listened. When you go to a public hearing, you want to believe that your ideas and concerns were considered. Council needs more comprehensive discussion on major initiatives. Discussion not only explains why you voted for or against a motion, but also helps educate the public about why decisions were made. Where do we start? By improving communications. We need to upgrade the district website and engage in social media. Some people now get all their news and information online. Our website needs to be more engaging, more informative, and information needs to be more easily accessible. I'm disappointed that background information for public meetings is not attached to the agenda. Citizens should not have to scour through the archives to find staff reports. Face-to-face communication is also important. We had excellent town hall meetings when we started them years ago. Do we need to re-energize the process? In conclusion, I'm running for council to work with you to work towards building a sustainable Central Saanich based on the environmental, economic, and social principles outlined in our official community plan. I offer significant council and community experience and will bring an open mind and commitment to informed, balanced decisions. On November 15th, I look forward to your support and ask that you vote for me, Bob Thompson, the only Bob on the ballot. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for listening to us tonight. I think there's some excellent people running for office, and I hope I have your support come November 15th. And Melissa at the back is handing out brochures. She's my partner, and if you didn't pick one up tonight, please grab one on your way out. Just to recap a little bit about myself, I served you for 12 years, and I look forward to working for you again. I found you money, I kept your costs down, I have lots of enthusiasm to share with council, and work well with others. I have the necessary experience, having chaired and sat on many boards, and I've been directly involved in many accomplishments that have benefited Central Saanich and the region. You'll find me someone who listens to the public and waits to have all the facts before making decisions. I will focus on Keating revitalization, safe highway access, careful financial management, and accountable government. I am your business-friendly and environmentally sensible candidate. Please check Christopher Graham on the ballot. And my contact info is on the brochures, so if you feel like you had questions that weren't answered or you want me to elaborate on any answers I gave, please feel free to email or phone. Thank you very much.
I want to thank Mr. Cameron and his crew, Mr. Watkins and Chris and all the gang there, and the ratepayers for hosting this evening. Bless your hearts. You know, I've really missed this. I really, really love working for this community and working with all of you. That wasn't written down here, so I just had to say it. Like you, I'm a taxpayer and a homeowner, so I understand the necessity of proper budgeting and wise spending. In 2005, we did an Ipsos Reid survey, and 56% of our population was willing to increase taxes to maintain services. If elected, I would be prepared to push for another survey to see how residents feel today. Residents' concerns need to be heard and addressed, whether they regard densification, traffic and safety issues, or how we support healthy lifestyles for young and old. Having strong community ties, raising my daughter, and caring for ailing parents has given me an understanding of the needs of families. We need to encourage multi-generational housing, development of senior care facilities, and assisted living accommodation. Traffic calming and safety was always high on my priority list and is an ongoing issue that I feel is important to our residents. It is vital that we elect strong, experienced leaders with historical knowledge to deal with the many important opportunities and challenges that face us. So on November 5th, please vote for me, Susan Mason, a positive voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. My name is Zeb King, and I just wanted to make the point that in the last 2 elections, the voter turnout has been 33%. I make this point when I go door to door because it's such a low number, and it's yet the level of government that brings water right to our taps. We take it for granted somewhat. Not you, of course, you're here on a rainy evening, but there are many other people that need to come out, that need to be aware of the issues, and there are many, aren't there? You've heard of some, but this is not all the issues. These are not all the issues that we've faced as a council. There's so many more. We could spend a lot more time here if we were to talk about them all. At the doorstep, I'm saying I want to hear from you, and not just because it's election time. Between elections, I like to knock on doors and make sure that I hear from the community as well. In 2011, I promised increased transparency, and today, when you read the minutes, they reflect transparency again. In addition, we have webcasted meetings, and yet we have more to do to open the doors of Municipal Council and Municipal Hall. In the remaining days of the election, I ask that you perhaps just pick up the phone and give me a call. Ask me a question, raise some of the issues that we haven't talked about, because it's that easy for us to connect in this community, and I think we should. I'm Zeb King, and I ask for your vote. Let's go to council together. Thank you.
Thanks, Zeb. I'm Sean Monroe, and I want to thank everybody for coming here today. I appreciate it and listening to me, and hopefully you get a better understanding of who I am and what I stand for. I really want to look at local foods and local businesses and strike a balance between the two. I think that there's a lot of great opportunities in Central Saanich, and I would like to take on those challenges and see them forward. So I appreciate everyone coming here tonight, and on November 15th, vote for me. Thank you.
I'm Baldev Lali, and everybody's talking about affordable housing. So please go to my website, and it tells you how we can get affordable housing. And whoever is elected in council, make sure they want affordable housing, not only saying they want affordable housing, they are business friendly and zone friendly. That's the only way we'll be able to solve our housing problem. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out, and thank you to the candidates for putting themselves forward for the opportunity to serve on Central Saanich Council. And I'd like to express my gratitude to current as well as past members of Council for their contributions. Thank you also to the Ratepayers Society for hosting the event, and to our local First Nations for the access we have today to your traditional territory. In the next 4 years, many challenges and opportunities will be managed by your local government. Council will revisit and renew the regional sustainability strategy. It will set a long-term financial plan, including dealing with significant infrastructure, replacement and renewal of aging facilities. This will be done while also facing the challenges of meeting new demands for services. Your council will have to respond to the need to reduce costs and integrate more regional services. It will also need to address the increasing concerns and impacts of climate change, and our need to move away from a fossil fuel economy. Your council will need to protect our farmland and rural way of life, help invigorate the local economy, plan accessible communities, and support those who are the most vulnerable in our society with affordable housing. Your council will need to make progress on revitalizing Saanich and the Keating industrial areas, as well as to work with First Nations communities as they expand their economic and social frameworks. This is a big job ahead of us, and council will need your help and involvement if we are to succeed. I believe that I've demonstrated my interest and my ability to serve you and the interests of our community. I've also demonstrated that I don't shy away from asking difficult questions or taking leadership on important issues. I hope that I have earned your vote on November 15th. Thank you.
And finally, John Hannum. I'm just going to Everybody's been thanked over and over again, so I won't go over that, but I am very encouraged that so many people have actually come out tonight, and a lousy night to be out on as well. I know that all of us up here would like to be able to serve you on Central Saanich Council, but however, there are only 6 positions, and you get to choose from us. While on council, I would be willing to listen to you when and if you should require assistance or general information. Hopefully, I've been able to show you that not only do I have the academic qualifications and experience to fill one of these positions, but I have the energy and commitment to do my best on council if given the opportunity. I have no hidden agendas or axes to grind by putting my name forward for office. If elected, I will always try to keep an open mind, listen carefully to issues at hand, thoughtfully consider potential solutions, and work within the council to find the best course of action. Should you choose to support me in running for office as a councillor for Central Saanich, and in doing so I am elected, I pledge to be your councillor in both name and fact. Thank you for any support you may wish to offer me personally and for listening to all of us. And lastly, please share what you have heard and remember to vote on November 15th. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Tex Mudry here. A wonderful roster of candidates and new ideas and fresh approaches and ideals rekindled. Whether I win or not win, I'm going to do my best as a citizen because I'm in nobody's pocket. I'm not in the union's pocket. I'm not in the corporation's pocket. I'm in the citizen's pocket. Win or not win, I'm going to support these candidates the best of my ability. Tex Moodry here.
I'm Jack Marr, and I'd like to thank Ian and the ratepayers for hosting this all candidates meeting, and also for all the audience. You've heard what I've said on some of the things. I'm low-key, I work behind the scene. That's the way I operate. That's the leadership I bring to the table. And I intend to continue on what I've done. I said that I'm an experienced politician. I've got 15 years on council. I've served 9 years on the CRD, so I know how the system works. I've got 3 projects on my mind, and I said the first is a flyover at Keating Cross for safe access to our Keating Industrial Park. And I said that the trucks and everything are waiting on the left turn lane. Time is money. They're burning fuel. They're creating pollution. So the faster you get them onto the Keating Cross Road, the better it is. The second issue is I said I want to put a tunnel down on the Martindale Valley down to the Pacific Ocean. There'll be more information coming if I'm elected. And the third is an affordable housing or low-cost housing that I'm hoping to move it forward if I can get some help from the public on the issues I just explained. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to take a slightly different approach. I want to thank all of you and my colleagues up here on stage this evening for identifying a number of issues. And it is clear that the municipality has a lot of business that it has been dealing with, will continue to deal with, whether it be derelict vessels, whether it be workforce housing, whether it be affordable housing, whether it be the viability of farmland, responsible taxation that it addresses, the infrastructure deficit. So all the unglamorous items, the sewers, the pipes, the water pipes, the sidewalks, that really is unglamorous, is dealt with so that the service levels that the community expects are met. But I want to talk about something else. In my intro, I talked about engagement. And here's why. I have a young family in the district. We started a business here 7 years ago. We started a winery. We have farmland in the district. We are growing a product and selling it into the local economy. We sell 100% of our product into this local economy already. So I am living what we're all talking about. And I think, you know, with respect to Jack, he's doing the same thing. I acknowledge that. As a farmer, it's a tough go, but we have to always be cognizant of that. And so what I say is, as you look forward and you address all of these issues, and council works collaboratively and engages the community, remember why we're doing this. It's for generations to come. Every generation that follows us is going to look back on us and say, what leadership did you provide that addressed the needs of our community, the desires of our residents, the needs of our businesses? How did we make things better? And I think if you look to that question, the answer is clear on November 15th. Please vote Brian Windsor for mayor. Thank you.
Man, well, it's a tough job, I'll tell you. If you had $1 billion, what would you do? In Greater Victoria, there's about 350,000 people, and they got a budget of about $1 billion a year. In Toronto, there's 1.9 million people, and they got one mayor. They have 13 mayors here. There's 185 candidates in this election that are saying, we want to serve you. I proposed at the beginning, which I didn't get any real media on, that those 185 candidates come together. And, you know, I'm sure some of these guys here have good ideas, and ladies, good ideas on what to do. Why don't we come together and present with you some really concrete direction that you can move in and agree with or not agree with? But to say, oh, I'm going to be your leader, and we're going to put 6 people together from this people maybe who haven't met one another, and they're all going to be your government. I think this is so ridiculous. You don't need 13 mayors. Eliminating the 13 mayors and bringing it down to one mayor would save you $100 million. But money itself is an illusion. It's just a mind-made reality. It's going to lead you into nothing but trouble. We have to rethink government. Government has to evolve. We have instant communication now. We have instant means of relating to one another. This is dead council reality. You can't get a decision. Affordable housing, all they have to do is change the zoning, and we could double the zoning. But Victoria is becoming a car lot. The world's becoming a car lot. We got to get away from the old mode of thinking and start thinking differently. So I'm saying one vote can make a difference. Don't vote for anybody else. One vote. And all I want to do is abolish this form of government and bring it back to the people so that you're free, that you're making decisions without undue influence from this collective, which I call just a bunch of bullies. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That's the first time in my life I've ever heard an anarchist running for public office. It's wonderful. I have just 4 things, very quick. First, if you haven't contributed to the cost of the hall, this place doesn't cost a lot of money. It does cost something. So if you could toss a loonie or a toonie in the box there. Secondly, Saanich Voice Online is a website. Google Saanich Voice Online. They're building this. Find it on the internet. Third, and perhaps most important, anyone who is leaving the council, not running again, stand up and recognize Alistair. Start with you. Anyone else? Exactly right. John Hannah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your service. That was really kind. And finally, anyone who wants to help put chairs away, stick around. Thank you very much for coming.